Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the round of 4, the semifinals of the DreamHack Valencia. So we have here in the top left, we got our blue Protoss. He is a dragon, he is a phoenix, he is a gamer. Make some noise for Hero.
And his opponent, we have the red Zerg player in the bottom right corner of the map, also from Dragon Phoenix Gaming. It is Dark.
Okay, so we are going to start off this series on the map of Cosmic Sapphire, which, if I recall correctly, is not the most common Game 1 map, but I might be totally off on that.
Why do you think that is? Is it because of all of the high ground, low ground splits, that kind of thing?
I think it might be because of the gold base here on the bottom left. I think,
oh, got it.
Yeah, sometimes not the. I mean, you know, either one of the two players would want to play on the more kind of even map where, you know, their opponent not going to be able to take advantage of the gold base, because certain races should be, you know, theoretically are better suited to take the gold base earlier on.
Right.
We've seen it on, you know, map like Blackburn, where Zergs would sometimes just outright just go straight to it, make their second hatchery on that.
Yeah. And I just noticed there's also a couple of rich Vespene geysers on the map. So of course they do provide their respective player with twice as much gas, meaning that if you only have one geyser, it's the equivalent of a normal base's 2 Vespene geysers.
Yeah, but I think the easier way to get more gas is just to go to Taco Bell, order some chilies and burritos, and you get triple the amount of gas, you know.
Oh, for sure. More bang for your buck, you know. It's a better return on your investment.
Yeah.
Oh man. So nothing too out of the ordinary just yet. Hero opting for the Stargate opener. We might see an Oracle or a Phoenix or Void Ray or a wait, no. I would love to see Tempest first. That would be pretty fun. not viable, but very fun.
Yeah, actually, you know, there used to be a time where Tempest openings were actually kind of in the meta. Not as much these days. I don't see it as frequent, but there was a time period where Protosses would go for Tempest off the ground from the start. So I would love to see it. I would love to see it come back into the meta. We'll see. I mean, StarCraft 2 is such a ever revolving kind of game where meta shifts and, you know, ladder map pools changes as well. So yeah, would love to definitely see it down the road.
Interesting. So you're saying that this wasn't a proxy gateway into, like, Tempest Rush? It was actually Tempest first.
So basically, the Protoss would stay on 2 bases, rush for 2 Stargate Tempests, or actually, yeah, 2 Stargate Tempests, and then they will start establishing the 3rd base while harassing with the Tempest. Of course, Protoss have recall ability, so if their Tempest does get into trouble, then they can always recall, you know?
Right. Okay, looks like a couple of Adepts are gonna find their way into the 3rd no line. Actually, taking down 6 drones. That's I kind of think that maybe Dark would have been better off pulling the drones there.
Yeah.
Of course, you know, I don't think he really cares. Well, I don't know, maybe he should care, right? It's 5 minutes. He's not actually ahead of Hero in terms of workers. Hero did also get that 3-minute 40-second Nexus, which means that it's going to be up and running already. Dark, on the other hand, opting for +1 melee. He might be going for some sort of Lingbane opening here. On the other hand, Hero going for that Blink upgrade on the Twilight Council. So this is going to be an interesting pairing, because of course Lingbane deals with Stalkers just fine.
Oh, cute little move there, lifting up the drone on the Phoenix just to try to delay the expansion. Dark is gonna send a second drone there. He's like, screw this.
That's the ultimate Zerg power move, right? Think about, like, imagine the Phoenix pilot is so happy. They're like, dude, I just stopped the Zerg's economy in its tracks, and then you just see another drone waddling across, and it's like, oh, well, I guess what I did doesn't matter at all.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cute. Yeah, it looks like these two oracles are going to try to fly into the natural. Immediately they're going to back off because the queens were already in position. Oh, very cute. The scouting Ling tripped the Stasis forward. Okay, and we also have Hero going for the very far 4th base location, which is of course going to give him those rich gold minerals.
Yeah, I mean, with Hero playstyle, I think that is a pretty good risk. You know, there's always a risk taking a gold base, but I think the risk is well worth it. First of all, because that side of the map doesn't usually get scattered, although it does get scattered now. But by the time it is scattered, you know, it's sometimes a bit too late. And also it provides a bit more income to kind of finance the heavy gateway type of army that Hero is going for right now.
For sure. He's already got 9 gateways going up to a total of 10. He's going to be adding in charge, +2, +1 armor, and then also the Templar Archive. So this is definitely going to be very gateway heavy. On the other hand, his opponent just has that very classic, very old school sort of Lingbane Hydra style, which does deal with gateway quite well. I'm pretty excited to see what happens. I have a feeling we're going to see a bunch of Banelings blowing up on a bunch of charge lots, but then the Stalkers are going to come in and clean everything up. I don't know. I'm just excited.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be the point of contention here down at the bottom left side, as both players are expanding towards that general area. And like you mentioned, it's going to be quite interesting to see how this pans out, as right now Hero just trying to fortify his gold base, getting a bunch of cannons and shield batteries. That stasis ward is still there as well. And where's our Hero's army? Okay, it looks like it's out in the middle of the map here.
Ooh, a little unfortunate. One of the Archons does get caught by itself. A bunch of Banelings are going to try to detonate on these Zealots. Nice set of force fields, going to force back the Hydra Lingbane onto the high ground 4 now. Oh, and does Hero catch this little segment of Lingbane? He will. That was a lot of Banelings going off on a lot of Zealots. But I kind of feel like... Oh, hold that thought, because there are Lings streaming into Hero's natural. Unfortunately, the wall was not plugged. The hole in the wall was not plugged. So it's going to force a Warpin at home. At the same time, Dark is going to posture towards the 4th gold base location as well. There is going to be some Zealots and an Archon and a lot of static defense to help out for now. But I don't know if it's going to be enough. Those Banelings are going to detonate on some of the probes. The rest of the Hydras just now finished speed, so some of them will get picked off. But oh my gosh, 29, 35 probes going down. The natural was never fully dealt with. I mean, things are just a disaster right now for our Protoss player.
Yeah, 35 probes is not what you want to lose. I mean, I think Hero could have even lost more if those Lings and Banelings were on +2 melee instead. Thank God when Dark attacked, it was only +1. Now the +2 has finished, so Hero's got to be extra careful not to get his probe line infested with the Banelings. Nice catch here in the middle of the map. However, the bigger attack, or the main attack, lies within this bottom left side base. Dark doesn't feel like he has quite enough. Gonna back out for now, but oh, actually, is he gonna? Okay, looks like he's gonna send some things onto the top, but I don't know if he has quite enough to break this gold base here, though.
Yeah, looks like the Stalkers are gonna head back home to reinforce. I mean, look at those Banelings just rolling on through. Another 11 probes go down. Unfortunately, that wall of gateways only covered the south side and not the north side. Bunch of Lings are going to target the 5th place location at the same time that the main Hydraling Bane force is gonna re-hit the 4th base location, taking down another 32 probes in total. Just all the static defense is going down. Everything is a disaster right now for the Protoss. That's basically how to sum up this mid-game. I mean, there's just Stalkers eating a bunch of Baneling hits, which, I mean, of course they can do comfortably, but, I mean, they're going to be able to blink back on top of the Queens as well. However, he's down 55 probes. I mean, how many does he have left? He only has 24 probes left. He's definitely all in right now, and Dark can afford to lose a base. Honestly, Dark could afford to lose 2 bases, I feel like. He's just going to be able to remake everything, go hit again, starve out his opponent. I mean, this is just not looking good for Hero.
Yeah, I mean, he only has a few a few Stalkers, but I mean, the army composition is better for Dark, as well as the quantity for Dark army is larger as well. And there we have it. Hero taps out as Dark takes game number 1. So that last game was quite horrible, to say the least, for Hero. I think everything that could have gone wrong went wrong, and was a bit unfortunate because he did get the gold base for a period of time, but was not able to quite make use of it. I think the idea is to kind of overwhelm your opponent because you have more resources from that gold base, but Hero didn't quite get to that optimal critical amount of units to kind of overwhelm his opponent, and also losing a lot of Zealots to some early Baneling hits. It was unfortunate because he force fielded the Zergling, and then the Banelings joined up, and they were retreating, but they retreated into a bunch of charge lots, and they were blown up into smithereen. And yeah, from that point forward, I think Dark pretty much had the game.
Yeah, pretty unfortunate. I feel like, I don't know, maybe if Hero had taken the time to invest in Storm, which of course finishes quite quickly for as far as upgrades go, and then just sort of banked up energy on a few High Templar, he might have been able to deal with the Lingbane Hydra a little bit easier, I would say. Granted, Archons are not bad against the Lingbane. It's just that against Hydras, you know, they're outranged and they're outgunned, actually. Hydras are able to pop them like balloons. But
Yeah.
I don't know. That's in the past. Now, I do have a question for you, Snoopy. Why don't Protoss players go for Storm Stalker? Like Storm Blink, High Templar Stalker. Is that a thing?
Well, I think because Stalker uses up gas resources, so you know when you're trying to go for High Templars with Storm, you need gas to invest into those. First of all, to the Templar Archive, and then to the Storm upgrade, and then High Templars as well, and that leaves little room for the gas kind of
Right.
budget there. So ideally, you waste all your gas on Templars and Storm, and even maybe some Archons, and then the rest are minerals into charge lots, and maybe more bases or gateways or static defenses, things like that uses only minerals.
Yeah, that makes sense considering Immortals also, they cost what, 275 minerals, I believe? Which is almost as much as an entire Colossus, which is 300 minerals, but the difference being the Colossus costs twice as much gas. So what I'm trying to say is that, like, Stalker Colossus is more even in terms of resources. You know, they sort of complement each other in that way because Stalkers are also kind of gas intensive, but not really, right? And then you've also got the Colossus, which is ratio-wise not quite as gas intensive as High Templar. So I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's part of the game where you have to allocate your resources correctly, and I think over time players has kind of figured out just based on what the units cost and the tech costs, kind of like the army composition that best kind of helps allocate your resources, both minerals and gas.
Right. So funnily enough, Hero was not able to get a proper full wall at the natural. The first pylon, I assume that's the first pylon, was a little bit too forward, so it actually blocks off the area where the gateway would go. So Hero just nonchalantly adapting, you know, putting down another pylon in that location as well. But I feel like if I were in Dark's position, I would try to get a Baneling Nest, and then I would fail the Baneling Rush, and then I would lose the game. So I'm very glad that that's not what Dark decided to do.
Okay, TeaDragon, I feel the need to just... Oh, actually, you know what? I'll just hold that thought, as looks like there's going to be an Oracle Harass. Doesn't get too much done, only 3 drones, so all in all, good defense as the queens were in position. But as I was about to mention, one of my pet peeves is building a pylon right between your nexus and the mineral patch, completely blocking. Well, I guess not completely, but really kind of
impeding the mining.
Yeah.
I see that over at the third base.
I'm like, there's a huge area where you can just build your pylon everywhere else. Instead, he decides to go for that specific place to throw down his pylon.
Right. I'm not gonna lie, the temptation, I mean, it's always there. You want to be able to get that defensive structure in your mineral line. Not the pylon, of course, but the pylon powers whatever defensive structure it is. In this case, it would be a shield battery. But yeah, I mean, look at that. The probes, they just take a little bit more time to mine, and it's just a little bit annoying. But anyways, we do have a pretty big charge lot adept sort of run by coming in here. Charge did just finish. Queens are a little bit under fire. However, Banelings are about to pop. I think that these charge lots are not going to be able to find any more damage than they already have. However, the 4 adepts are preventing a lot of mining currently over at the third base. Pretty good map awareness from both players. The adepts, you know, separating from the main army, but also the drones being pulled away. That way they don't lose their lives in the fight as well.
Oh, getting a lot of Baneling hits here for Hero, weakening these zealots. And another round here. The question is, will he be able to overwhelm? I think with the Banelings that are morphing in, I think Dark should be able to hold this off relatively easily. I think, luckily for Dark, he went for the correct tech here with the Banelings.
Right. I feel like roaches are also pretty good. You can kite them back, and as long as you keep them alive while trading out the zealots, well, in that case it wouldn't really be a trade, right? But as long as you keep the roaches alive, you should be okay as well. Now, there are 4 oracles. I just noticed that. That is amazing, especially considering a 5th one is almost done.
Yeah.
But yeah, Banelings, they're definitely much simpler sort of trading tool. You just send them into the Banelings, and then everything blows up, and then everybody loses resources, basically. But all in all, pretty solid hold from Dark. You know, morphing the Banelings right in the nick of time. Not morphing them in preemptively. And also not losing too many queens, which he does need as anti-air as well. So it looks like Hero is still posturing, still trying to get a little bit more damage. Now, how many oracles is that? That's 6 total. He's going for a 7th. I love it. Pretty much forcing the Hydra response out of Dark right now.
Yeah, I think this is kind of a very, very old school where, you know, back in the day you would see Protosses just go ham on these oracles. Sometimes they would just make like 2 or 3 Stargates and go to just mass oracles. However, of course, that meta has died down considerably. And here we go, Banelings rolling in. Oh, nice.
Okay. Very nice force field. Now, of course, the 4th base does get destroyed by the Lings, but I have to say, that is excellent warp and instinct. Warping in the 2 sentries and then being able to force field them. So, you know what, Snoopy? That is proof that pylon saved the day, okay? That plus the force field, it saved all of those probes from dying. So, that is all the proof that I need. From now on, I'm putting all of my pylons in all of my mineral lines.
Oh man. Yeah, in the end, apparently that pylon did help a hero out, so of course, I mean, who am I to talk about and criticize hero, right?
Yeah, he's got that future sense, you know. He can see 4 or 5 minutes into the future, so can't really blame him.
All
So it
right.
looks like overall the Zerg is going to be powering up. I mean, both players are powering up, but because Hero had to trade out so many zealots, I don't know, it kind of feels like his army is a little bit smaller than where it would be normally.
Yeah, I mean, he did lose a lot, so it seems like his army's kind of just in the process of rebuilding. Now, let's see here. How many High Templars is that? Only one. That's not what I like to see.
Yeah, especially because there is no Storm on the way, so they're all going to be morphed into those beefy Archons instead. Now, these 7 Oracles, these 6... I can't count. Yeah, 6 Oracles. Continuously tagging, keeping an eye on the Zerg army. Excellent use of the Oracles. And look at this, we have a double Robo follow-up. I think this is just for Immortals, right? Yeah, so gonna be leaning harder into that sort of Immortal Charge-a-Lot Archon army.
Yeah, so kind of go for a very classic PvZ kind of army for both players. And I think it's going to come down to those storms. Those storms are going to be so important. However, I feel like this map is a map where the Zerg can really set up a lot of flanks and sandwiches to help mitigate that storm damage. And that's the thing that I'm worried about. But you know what? There's that X factor in those Oracles, because Oracles, I mean, with that many Oracles, you can set up a lot of stasis wards.
Unfortunate. It looks like a group of Zealots are going to get taken out as they do get scouted by the attacking Hydroling Bane. So here we go. Archons are going to take the front line. A bunch of cannons over in the front are going to be able to at least try to mitigate some of this damage. However, the Banelings are going to roll past everything, going straight for the probes at the same time. A Baneling run by over at the cross third base as well. Hydras are still holding strong. I don't think Hero has enough. The Oracle is just not quite able to dish out their DPS. They are going to put down some stasis wards, which help out marginally, but not enough. Archons and Immortals are trying to clean up what's left, but basically Hydras have complete control over that side of the map. GG is called. Dark is up 2-0 here in the semifinals.
So speaking of the map data C here, I feel like it's one of the maps that has kind of turned into maybe something like a 2000 atmospheres where players just likes to play on this map. I mean, it's got the watchtowers, so it provides an easy vision, right, onto the sides.
Right.
There are plenty of bases to go around, especially the first 4 bases. Pretty easy to get.
Right. Yeah, I feel like this new map pool, in general, the maps are... I mean, I'm biased, from a Zerg perspective. I really like all of them, simply because they're very standard, very no-nonsense. And they're all kind of more open, so it's just kind of interesting. Do you think that Protoss and Terrans have any complaints such as that? That maybe the new maps are a little too open, a little too wide?
I think by now, about like 12 years into the game, I think Protosses and Terrans, they've kind of learned to adapt to, in terms of walling off and spaces in terms of the ramp area. I think right now it looks pretty good. I mean, I don't see any like major complaints. I just really like the current ladder map pool, just because of the aesthetics of it. Each map have a very different feel, have a different look to it, and much more. You can differentiate them more easily, I think, And you know, of course, their map names are quite interesting as well. I mean, Data
Oh, for
C.
sure.
That could be like a rapper name or something.
Yeah, actually. Data is gonna become the new Lil.
Yeah, yeah. So for you, you'll be like, you know, since your name is TeaDragon, you'll be like Data TD, you know.
Oh, okay, okay. I like it. All right, looks like everything is pretty standard from both of our players. Once again, Hero going for that Stargate Oracle opener. Nothing too out of the ordinary. Second Oracle is producing. First Oracle, just gonna poke around, see what happens. There are quite a few queens here to defend, so very good positioning by Dark. Doesn't even need the Spore Crawlers just yet, so not, you know, producing in time for the Oracles because they don't need to be produced just yet.
Alright, zap away. But it looks like, yeah, Dark is quite fortified. I mean, plenty of queens to go around, Spore Crawlers as well. Yeah, I don't see these Oracles doing too much damage. Maybe might want to go ahead and use them to just throw stasis wards into the mineral line, but I think with Dark's reaction timing, he should be okay. Compared to, let's say, someone like Sue, who has been notorious in not keeping up with stasis wards in his mineral lines. He suffers a lot of those tragedies, and you know, he looks back and he sees his entire mineral line just frozen.
Oh man, I wonder why that is. Maybe it's because he pays more attention to the actual in-game alerts. You know, since of course Oracles, when they're doing that stasis trap, when they're putting it down, it doesn't actually attack the drones, and therefore there's no alert sent out. Maybe that's why.
Yeah, it definitely makes it a little bit more difficult, and you know, some players just have their weaknesses. I mean, Solar, for example, has historically been weak against cheeses, early game cheeses, against Terrans. And you know, despite him playing so many years and facing against that over and over, he still has trouble with them. And I guess Sue's trouble is stasis wards.
Oh man, Dark handled that just fine, however, in his case, because he pulled away all the drones, and he was just one shot away from taking down that Oracle. So actually that stasis ward did save the Oracle because it popped just in time to trap that one queen. Very, very sharp timing, very interesting interaction there.
Yeah, and also speaking of sharp timing, look at here, we have a move out with a couple of stalkers, only two two sentries, not a lot of energy, so Hero's got to be careful not to walk too deep into this creep area, because if he gets surrounded, his entire army is going to get absolutely cremated.
Yeah, for sure. There is a pretty good force of queens up front, and of course, when they have energy especially, they're a little bit tankier than usual. They don't have the highest DPS. In fact, I'm pretty sure their DPS is on the lower end. Oh, but not low enough. That one Oracle does get blasted out of the sky. These Stalkers are going to push forward. They're going to try to pick off what they can. Lings are going to start coming forward. Now, one force field not quite able to find any sort of damage, not able to segment off the Zerg army or anything like that. Actually, one of the sentries does go down for basically free. Finally, we do see some trading a little bit. We have some Lings trying to stream in, some more Lings trying to counterattack the third base as well, but so far, I mean, Hero is not looking to stop anytime soon. He is producing more and more Stalkers. Look at that. Using that proxy pylon and trying to put a lot of heavy aggression over on Dark side of the map. Now, will it turn out good for him? I'm not too sure, because Stalkers, of course, do not do the best against Lings, especially when they get surrounded. Now, they do blink on out of there, but is it going to be enough? I'm not too sure.
Oh man, these Banglings are closing in though. Okay, nice last second blink away there. It does save a bunch of Stalkers. More Stalker being worked in here. That is going to bring his total Stalker count to 19. And yeah, looks like a lot of these Zerglings, the Speedlings, has been picked off here, and now all that remains are slow banelings, a couple of queens. Now these Hydras are going to be able to provide a lot of DPS here, but will it be enough?
Hydras normally are pretty good against Stalkers, especially when paired against Queens, but I mean, this is Hero we're talking about. Look at that Blink Stalker micro, able to blink back low health Stalkers right in the nick of time, trading out against the Queens, trading out against the Hydras as well, reinforcing with yet another large round of Stalkers. I think he's done it. I think he might have been able to overwhelm Dark. Drones, not probes, they're being pulled off the line. Queens are going down, there are barely any left. Hydras are going down. Some Lings are trying to stream in, but of course they get picked off as well. Look at that, Hero's done it, he's going to blink on forward. Is this the start of yet another comeback?
It's looking very much so, as Hero pulls ahead by almost 60 overall supply, and there we have it. Dark taps out as Hero is going to win game number 3. Alright, so in a PvZ, I would say, normally I don't see, Protoss winning with mass stalkers, like just pure mass stalkers. Maybe with like stalkers and sentries, but man, that was a lot of stalkers there at the end.
That was pretty interesting. I like the use of the proxy pylon. Maybe I'm not too sure about whether or not there was a robo in that last game. I was so focused on the fight, but yeah, might as well at that point, right? Proxy robo, or excuse me, proxy pylon, warp in a crap ton of stalkers and see what you can do. Especially if you have that kind of micro, you can definitely trade favorably against those kinds of ranged Zerg units. Now, in the beginning, I feel like it was a little bit dicier. You had those Lings and Banes able to chase off creep, but interestingly enough, the Banes did not have their speed upgrade. I feel like Dark was caught a little bit off guard. Otherwise, he might have committed a little bit more into that Ling Bane style, which of course can close the distance pretty well. One blink is not going to do much, that kind of thing. But of course, that's not what ended up happening, and Hero was able to overwhelm Dark.
Yeah, you actually make a great point. I mean, Hero attacked right when Dark was transitioning into Hydralisk. You kind of wonder if instead, if Dark held off the Hydralisk transition and gotten Baneling speed instead, just invested into just mass Ling and Banelings with speed, how that fight would have turned out differently. Because when you're attacking a Zerg player who is like got only a few Hydralisks, it's not the scariest of things. You need to wait to that critical amount of Hydralisks in order to make it so that the stalkers are just gonna die so much quicker. But that wasn't the case. There was only a couple of Hydralisks, and the majority was in Lings and slow Banelings, which ultimately did not work out for our Red Zerg.
Yeah, like you said, all about that critical mass. It's so interesting to see how, you could have the same units fighting the same units, but once they hit a certain number, the dynamic completely changes.
Yeah, for sure. I think we've seen it in like more higher tier units, like in carriers and broodlords and things like that, where
definitely
only a couple of broodlords and carriers are manageable, but once it gets to that critical mass, like you mentioned, it's just like almost impossible to get underneath them.
Yep. Alright, it looks like once again we have the Protoss player going for a quick third. Starting off with, I believe, 2 oracles? No, a 3 oracle opener, so nothing too out of the ordinary. Don't fix what's not broken, right?
Yeah, I mean, Hero, so good with his oracle control. And Oracle's one of those units that are quite effective throughout the whole entire game, whether it's the early game, the mid game, or even the late game.
We did see some excellent usage of them in the last game, where not only did they try a little bit to harass some of the drones, some of the mineral lines of Dark, but they did try to put down a couple of stasis wards, and then of course their arguably most important spell, sort of going into the mid/late game, is being able to tag the enemy's opponents, the enemy's units with that revelation ability.
Yeah, it's just really key to just keep tabs on your opponent's army movement, making sure that you're in the right position. Um, you saw in the last game where he didn't keep tabs on those speedlings, and so those speedlings just completely went into the I think the fourth base of Hero and was able to not only get the kill, but or didn't get Hero wasn't able to force get the cancel, so it was just an outright kill. And oh, TeaDragon, look at what we have here, a Nidus network coming from Dark.
Okay, I love it. I don't necessarily like the pairing with Lings because, of course, after the infamous or famous, depending on your perspective, Nidus Worm nerf, they can't actually exit their units that quickly, and of course, Lings are pretty, you know, yeah, as far as individual units go, they have a high count. But looks like the first Nidus is just going to go down on the low ground outside of the third base, so Hero might be a little bit scared about what's going on. Maybe he realizes that the first Nexus, the first Nidus is actually over at his third base. That's why he's putting down the additional cannons and whatnot. But on the other hand, the Nidus over in the main base does go unscouted, unchecked. So will Hero be able to respond adequately? It looks like he's holding strong over at the front four now. The Oracles aren't enough to burn away at the Lings and the Queens. Bunch of Banelings detonate on the shield battery, but they're not going to actually kill off the probes. Excellent probe pool there. But some Queens and some Lings do actually get into the main as well. So Hero is doing a pretty good job of defending so far. It kind of looks like Dark is running out of stuff. I can't really... Yeah, I mean, like, at this point, there's more units from Hero, more gateway units from Hero than there are Lings in total.
Yeah, that was a phenomenal hold there by Hero, as you know, he's still way ahead in the worker count, and he still has all his nexuses. The only unfortunate thing is that he has a creep tumor at his main base, but I mean, who cares? I mean, as long as he's able to kill the Nidus network before it pops out, then that creep tumor is not going to be too much of a threat. And more Lings trying to stream in, but oh, actually, as I say that, a nice sneaky ninja Baneling hit onto the third base does at least get some damage, but despite that, Hero still is gonna still hold on to the worker lead.
Yeah, like you said, a pretty decent hold from Hero. You know, losing some probes, but nothing that he can't afford. You know, just keeping the Lings off of his tail and really being able to allocate his resources where he needs them the most. And what I mean by that is that he knew that the first Nidus was on the low ground, so where was the majority of his units? The majority of his units were by the third base. And then after he realized that Dark was trying to rotate, take advantage of that high ground Nidus worm, he rotated a bunch of his units just in the nick of time to be able to deal with the small amount of Lings that finally trickled out from there. So all in all, very solid game from Hero. He's going to go ahead and feel confident enough to start prepping for a fourth base. At the same time, Dark is completing his fourth base, but Dark was a little bit behind. In fact, he's still behind on the worker count, so he definitely has a little bit of catching up to do.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is not the best time to finish a fourth hatchery normally. It kind of reflects on, you know, how much Dark invested into that Nidus play, and because it didn't find as much damage as he would have liked, now Hero is going to be the one who's going to have a relatively early fourth base, going to have the Storm Tech to deal with the Lings, Banelings, and Hydralisks. And once the Protoss has that, you know, the ICA type of army composition that includes Immortal, Archons, charge lots, then it gets really difficult, because unless you can flank and sandwich your opponent, Storm is just really good against everything that the Zerg has. It's good against the Lings, it's good against the Banelings, it's good against the Hydralisks. And so, you know, if there is enough storms to go around, then Dark might have to just go for a base trade, because it'll be quite difficult to just go head to head with that army.
Oh yeah, definitely. Now, it looks like he will be going up towards that Lurker tech. I really like Lurkers in this situation. They are going to be able to deal with this ground army. Now, question is, are they going to be out in time? I think the answer is no, because the Lurker Den is only a third done, and it looks like Hero is already posturing to take over some part of the other side of the map. Now, this main force is going to start breaking down the rocks. Lings, Hydras, and a couple of Banelings are going to be here to... nope, they're going to be unmorphed, actually, so costing Dark a little bit of resources as he cancels them. Rest of the Stalkers are going to join up with this main army. Now, speaking of Storm, I don't actually think that Hero has it. I don't know if he actually needs it, because those Stalkers are up, you know, they're pretty decently beefy. They don't have the high DPS like Tarsalats. They're not able to tank, or they are able to tank a lot as well. The Sentries are going to do some excellent force fields, keeping back a lot of these poor Lings, Banes, and Hydras as the base just gets targeted down. Look at that, continuous force fields going down, and these Stalkers and Immortals just have free reign over this side of the map. Drones are going to be pulled. Yeah, this is not looking too good for Dark. Now, finally, the force fields do dissipate off, but the Hydras are going to try to push forward. Not quite able to find anything just yet. Some drones going down as well with a charge lot run by.
Yeah. All in all, Hero has more than enough, as Dark not able to hold on to 2 places at once. And there we have it. We're headed to game number 5. So, of course, we end our series with Stargazers, one of the 2 ladder map pools that does have a backside pocket base. However, this is a pocket base here with a mineral patch blockage, so gotta mine it off before you can fully take that base. So looks like Dark will go ahead and go for the traditional expansions here onto the vertical side.
Yeah, I really like this sort of back base, you know, blocked off by the mineral patches type of thing going on. It's just, you know, it's a mechanic that it's very simple. It's a very simple concept, and it hasn't really been played around much in this last ladder map pool. So I'm excited to see how it turns out in this ladder map pool. Just, you know, something to sort of freshen up the scene.
Yeah, as you mentioned it, I'm like thinking back, and it's like, yeah, we haven't had a lot of ladder maps that has a mineral patch blocking the bases. I don't even remember like any of them having. I think maybe a rock blockage, but maybe not a mineral patch.
You know, I'm thinking Golden Wall probably had the most mineral walls, because I'm pretty sure, like, I've seen some games where you open up, or you know, you head into the late game, and then players start being able to go in between the 2 sides. But if I think that's what it is, I'm not too sure. Maybe I'm thinking of another map, but yeah, it's definitely not that common, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. But what is common is Protoss starting off with a Stargate, as a Hero has been favoring that Stargate opening for the last couple of games. And once again, heading into that Orko.
Yeah, now that you mention it, I don't think Hero has gone for a single non-Stargate opener, non-Oracle opener actually, in this entire best of 5. So pretty interesting to note. I think that that's indicative of, you know, the kind of play style that he, or the kind of games that he intends to play with his opponent being Dark. He knows that, hey, you know, I'm playing a world-class Zerg right now. Maybe I don't want to risk all of this, my semifinal run right here, right now, just because I want to be able to cheese him.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, Stargate openings, one of the safest, and if not the safest, builds openings for Protosses, especially in the PvZ matchup. And you know, it could transition and branch out to many different options. So you can open up with the Stargate and go for Phoenixes or Oracles, but then you can head into maybe Twilight Council with Charge and the Depths, or you can throw down a Robotics Facility and maybe go for more of a traditional Phoenix Colossus with Stalkers type of build. So many avenues in which the Protoss can branch out from a Stargate opening.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely provides Hero a lot of options. And he's been taking full advantage of, you know, a lot of different tech paths in this series so far. Looks like he will be opting for that Twilight Forge. Once again, I would not be surprised if it was something like, you know, Blink or Charge. I would be surprised if he went for Glaive Adepts. I will say, I don't think I've seen Hero play Glaive Adepts in the past couple of GSL seasons.
Yeah, I would say Glaive Adepts type of builds are good for, like, if you sprinkle them every now and then. It's not like the kind of go-to build, I would say, normally, because Zerg has kind of figured that out, how to defend it, after Zest kind of introduced it into the scene, and every Protoss seemed to abuse it. Zerg was like, you know what, this might be a little bit of a troublesome thing that I have to deal with. Let me see how I can counter this and defend against this. And of course, Zergs would just like cut off drone production a bit earlier, and then just invest into more army. And once you hold off that initial adept push, it gets much easier for the Zerg.
Alright, looks like it is going to be a Hydra follow-up from our Zerg player. Now, I think the difference here... Oh, wow, look at that. One Queen getting quite low on health. The 3 Oracles also getting quite low on health, so both players just doing their best to get as much value as they can without losing anything. Ooh, okay, so that 1 Queen just barely in position, able to snipe one of the Oracles. But yeah, I was going to say, I think that these Hydras are a lot earlier than we've seen in previous games. In fact, this might be some sort of Hydra +1 timing, in fact. It looks like the Queens are going to be moving possibly to the front. But in any case, the Hydras are going to come in very handy as they defend against this sort of Stalker Oracle push that is targeting... Ooh, well, -1 Oracle. That is targeting the 4th base of Dark right now.
I think this is actually going to work out for Dark, because I think he was already planning, like you said, that +1 Hydralist push. But yeah, it works out because, you know, Hero was playing an attack, and, you know, if your opponent is going to go aggressive and you were also going aggressive, then you know, the person with the defensive advantage is going to have a better defensive standing. So here we go. Hero's going to try to abuse this kind of area with the mineral patches, but yeah, looks like Dark should have enough army on both the low and high ground. This is not the best surface area or concave that Hero is attacking into. Right.
Granted, maybe he was expecting Dark to go for more of a Lingbane style, because in that case, then this choke point on that bridge over the purple water. Wow, that's really trippy to look at. Anyways, on that bridge, it would actually provide excellent minimal surface area for the Zerg to engage. But in this case, it's not actually working out for him, simply because Dark opted for those Hydras instead. And I just want to say, how in the world did Dark have the game sense to split off half of his army to defend in the main/back base? Like, I'm pretty sure he didn't even... Okay, well, maybe he did scout it with, like, an Overseer or something, but I don't know. I just find that really amazing that he was able to do that right on time, because if you know, a lesser Zerg were in his position, I guarantee you Hero would have found some sort of off timing over in the main base by blinking in. But look at this. Now he's going to go ahead and charge forward. Force field does go down. Not quite able to catch anything out just yet, but he does do a very aggressive blink forward. That could have been the end of it. Lurkers are now out on the field. He is not trading efficiently against these Hydras. Oh, Hero, I don't know if this is it. I really don't know if this is it.
Yeah, I think Dark has amassed enough Hydralists to fend this off. I'm quite confused as why Hero actually went for the forward blink. I mean, that was quite the risky play. It didn't seem like he had the overwhelming numbers to do so. I guess he got just a little bit too overconfident. Now Hero is trying to attack at multiple areas, sending a bunch of charge lots into the 3rd base while attacking the main base. But look at here, I mean, Dark has everything covered. The Hydralists to take care of the of the 4 o'clock base, and then lurkers and lings to take care of the main base. So Dark just holding the fort.
Man, especially because these stalkers don't actually have vision, so that one lurker is actually going to do pretty good work. Now, these stalkers do pick off a spawning pool, but lings do not appear to be the main unit of focus from our Zerg player, so I don't know, things are not looking too good for Hero. Now, he is keeping up in the supply, granted, you know, he is continuously making charge lots, and he's going to be able to keep up at least in terms of the supply. Now, in terms of quality of supply, I think that Dark definitely has the advantage here. I mean, Hydras and Lurkers. We were talking about critical mass earlier in a previous game. This is what we meant, right? This is exactly what we meant. There are way too many Hydras, there are way too many Lurkers, even if it's just a handful for these gateway units to try to contest.
Yeah, and he has enough to spread across not only 2, but 3 different bases, it seems like. Hero trying to find an opening, but again, like the longer this game goes, you know, Hero's still stuck on basically gateway tech. He's trying to add in 2 robos, but that's going to be quite late. He's need to wait for the robotics bay to complete. Looks like in the meantime, Hero's going to try to stretch this game out as he goes for that gold base, which is probably his best play right now, considering where he is at.
You know what, I can see a potential win condition where Hero just continuously trades out. You know, he has that bank, and he goes up to that higher tier unit army composition. He is getting a fleet beacon. However, this Nidus is going up over in the back base, and this is part of the risk when playing against the Zerg. They can just stream in lurkers basically wherever they like if they're not contested. Look at that, lurkers are going to burrow straight in the main base. They're going to start taking down this Nexus. Bunch of zealots warp in. There is a good tag from the oracles. They're going to start working on these lurkers, but oh, look at that. The charge lots are actually in the perfect position for the lurkers to just, you know, gun them down as they are lined up for them. The queens are going to start popping out, and they actually do save the rest of these lurkers. This is a disaster. Hero's supply is plummeting. I think that Dark might have done it. He went for a pretty aggressive counter, that being the Niduses, and it's just not working out for Hero anymore. The army composition really showing its weakness as these lurkers continue uncontested.
Yeah, pretty much the majority of the production buildings in the main base has gone down, and looks like Dark is going to go ahead and march on forward. Still not a lot of answers here for the lurkers as well. Hero trying to micro his best, but looks like the tails are, or the result is on the wall, as you can see in the overall supply. It's absolutely devastating here for Hero, and he taps out. There we have it. Dark, he's going to win this best of 5 series, and he is headed to the finals.